The strongest creature on land was never the tiger or the lion. After all, there's an old farm saying first the chicken, then the dog, then the pig, sheep, cow, and horse, and the very first thing I did after being reborn as a chicken was to devour 300 pounds of chicken feed, making myself the absolute fattest chicken in the coop. All the other chicks thought I was insane. Getting fat just makes you a prime target for the chopping block. Or worse, you get sent off to become a breeding machine, and trust me, that's a fate worse than death. But what they didn't know was that I had awakened the Devour and Evolve System. As long as I eat, I get stronger. Sure, the power-ups from chicken feed are slow, but at least it's safe. And according to the system, the weight limit for a normal chicken is 20 gin. Once I break that threshold, I'll achieve my first evolution. I thought I could just lay low and quietly eat my way to 20 gin, evolve, and then figure out my escape, but I never expected 2 humans to show up and ruin all my plans. Daddy, please don't kill Guden. He's such a good boy, he even follows me around. But the big man's expression didn't change, he just shook his head. Don't you want a nice chicken leg for lunch? Yes, but before the little girl could finish, the man patted her head. Don't worry, he said, we won't kill him. The butcher's market already has an order in. We'll sell him off right before the new year. After hearing their conversation, the feed in my mouth suddenly lost all its flavor. I was only 2.5 months old. I was still a long way from the 20 gin evolution threshold. Like a million miles away, but thankfully there was still some time before the new year. If I could just evolve before then, I knew I could find a way to escape this farm. So for the next 2 months, I started like a maniac. I devoured everything in the feeding trough. I was always the first one there, using my superior strength and speed to claim the best spot, and just stuffing my face. I didn't spare a thing, not the bugs in the corner, not the centipedes, not even the moss growing on the wall. If it was edible, I absolutely refused to waste it. But because I was only eating low-energy food, my stats weren't improving by much. I mean, compared to a normal chicken, I was already a behemoth. But I was still nowhere near strong enough to take on a human. At the same time, I noticed something else. As my strength and size grew, so did my eyesight and hearing. Now I could even hear the television playing inside the house. This just in, the broadcast said global temperatures are on the rise. Antarctic ice sheets are melting, causing sea levels to rise steadily. A multinational fleet has discovered suspicious life forms beneath Arctic ice. We'll continue to follow this developing story. Every news report hit me like a sledgehammer. As a reincarnator who'd read countless apocalypse novels, I knew exactly what this kind of news meant. It was the calm before a devastating storm. In just a few months, the entire world could be turned upside down. When that happens, forget about the chickens on this farm, even humans might not survive. I had to get stronger and fast. And just as I was thinking that, a voice shattered my train of thought. It was the old farmer on the phone with the meat packing plant. Hey, Mr. Wang, don't you worry, this batch of chickens is top-notch. Yeah, we've moved up the shipping date. It's not for the new year anymore. Just 2 weeks later, the meat packing plant was getting pushy, and they were offering a high price. The countdown to my death was suddenly cut from 2 months to just 2 weeks. I totally panicked. Going from to 22 pounds in 2 weeks was impossible on chicken feed alone. I had to find some high-energy food. I had to take a gamble. That very night, while everyone on the farm was fast asleep, I used my beak, which I'd sharpened to a razor's edge, to peck away at the welded joint on the wire mesh in the corner of the coop. After 2 solid hours, I finally snapped the wire, revealing a gap just big enough for me to squeeze through. I didn't hesitate for a second and slipped out. A cold wind howled across the farm. The wolfhound in the yard growled from its kennel, but using my extreme agility, I silently crept along the wall and snuck to the warehouse in the back. That's where Lao Mi stored grain and medicinal herbs. I'd already smelled it. There was an incredibly rich, energetic aroma coming from inside. It was the ginseng and deer antler Lao Mi used for his medicinal wine, along with all sorts of herbs. This stuff was the real high-energy food that would let me break through my limits. The warehouse door had a padlock, which I couldn't possibly open, but I had already found my way in. A rat hole in the corner of the wall. Using my claws and beak, I spent an hour digging the hole bigger and forced my way inside. Inside the warehouse, glass jars filled with herbs sat on a shelf. I leaped up and smashed the jars with my claws. Ginseng, deer antler, wolfberries, foti root. I stuffed it all down my throat. The moment the last mouthful went down, the system's notification went crazy. Host weight has surpassed 22 pounds. Species limit for domestic chicken has been reached. Initiate first evolution immediately. My heart was pounding. Just as I was about to confirm the evolution, the warehouse light suddenly flicked on. Lao Mi's furious shout came from outside, followed by the sound of a key in the lock. In there. My heart skipped a beat. Evolution takes time. And right now I had none. I made a split-second decision to abandon the evolution and scrambled back out through the rat hole I'd dug. I sprinted back to the coop, slipped back into my spot and pretended like nothing had happened. The moment the warehouse door swung open, Lao Mi saw the shattered glass all over the floor and the empty herb jars and started cursing his head off. He even took it out on the wolfhound in the yard. Meanwhile, I cowered in the corner of the coop, shaking all over, not from fear but from excitement. A 2-week death sentence and I'd beaten it in a single night. Now, I was sure I could take on the farm's wolfhound head on and peck it to death. But I knew that wasn't nearly enough. Lao Mi was already suspicious, and he was bound to beef up security. I had to find a chance to escape as soon as possible, and find a safe place to complete my evolution. Never expected that fate wouldn't give me the chance. Early the next morning, just as the sun was rising, Lao Mi barged into the coop with 4 burly men. They were carrying nets and catching hooks, their target crystal clear. They came straight for me. That one, the biggest one. Grab it first, we're sending a batch to the meatpacking plant today. Brothers, give me a hand. Get a good grip, this chicken looks pretty strong. 4 nets closed in on me from all sides. A cold iron hook lunged toward my leg. The surrounding chicks scattered in fear. The coop was pure chaos. I looked at the burly men before me, then at Mikai, who was standing by the door, covering her mouth, too scared to make a sound. Tears streaming down her face, my heart instantly twisted into a knot. I can't be captured. If they take me away, my Kai will be devastated. Even worse, they'll slit my throat, bleed me out, pluck my feathers, and serve me a plate. I went through so much to be reborn. I finally awakened my system. There's no way I'm dying like this. Facing the Weigong, I powerfully flapped my wings and leaped, jumping over 2 meters high, dodging the net that was flying towards me. Then with all my strength, I aimed for the hand of the man in front, and pecked down viciously, a blood-curdling scream. I had pecked a bloody hole into the back of the man's hand. The net he was holding dropped to the ground instantly. The moment I landed, I pushed off hard with my back legs, and charged for the coop entrance. I knew Mikai was there. She wouldn't hurt me. And sure enough, when she saw me rushing over Mikai, instinctively dodged to the side, clearing a path for me. Lao Mi roared from behind her. But Mikai just bit her lip and stood perfectly still, letting me burst out of the coop. The watchdog in the yard heard the commotion and charged over frantically, baring its fang leaped to bite me, but in my current state I didn't even see it as a threat. Just as the dog lunged for me, I sidestepped, and then jumped into the air. My 2 steel-like talons stomped down hard on the dog's head. I jabbed my sharp beak right towards its eyes. The dog let out a terrified whine, tucked its tail, and scrambled back, not daring to come any closer. But in those few seconds of delay, Lao Mi and his men had already caught up. He was now holding a shovel, swinging it viciously at me. All I could do was dodge desperately as I scrambled toward the yard exit. But as soon as I got through the main gate, my heart sank. Right outside the gate, a cargo van with an iron cage was parked. Its back doors were wide open, and a few workers from the meatpacking plant were standing by holding nets, perfectly blocking my escape. Blocked from the front, with pursuers from behind, I was forced into a corner. Seeing the men surround me, every on my body stood on end, and I let out a series of low, warning growls. But 2 fists are no match for 8, especially when I was facing 7 grown men armed with tools. In the end, I was trapped under a large net. No matter how much I struggled, I couldn't break free. They tied my legs and wings with rope and tossed me into the iron cage in the truck. The cage door slammed shut with a clang. The cage itself was welded solid, with only a single small door fastened with a thick iron bolt. I was thrown into the cage and I looked out the window. Mikai chased the truck for a long way, crying and screaming my name as she ran. Go Dan, until the truck got faster and faster, and her figure completely vanished from sight. At that moment, it felt like a knife had pierced my heart. Mikai. Wait for me, I will be back. My eyes were locked on the latch of the iron cage door. A spark for escape ignited within me. They hadn't locked the cage. They had only secured it with a latch. This was my only chance. The truck rumbled and bumped its way onto the main highway. I could clearly hear the driver and the person in the passenger seat talking about heading to another farm in the next town first to pick up another load before going to the meatpacking plant. I didn't make my move just yet. The highway was surrounded by villages and farmland. Even if I got out, there'd be people everywhere. I'd be caught again in no time. I had to wait. Wait for a secluded mountain forest. Only by disappearing deep into the woods could I truly be safe and complete my evolution. To avoid being spotted, I waited until the truck started climbing a winding mountain road, surrounded by an endless primal forest. Only then did I slowly begin to move, using my beak which I had sharpened for this very purpose to nudge the iron latch little by little. My beak was incredibly hard, and with precise control, I pushed the latch out bit by bit with a click. The latch slid completely free, the cage door was loose. I didn't burst out immediately, instead I quickly scanned my surroundings. The truck was moving along the mountain road, to the right a steep cliff. To the left, a primeval forest stretched as far as the eye could see its canopy blotting out the sky. It was the perfect hiding place I'd been dreaming of. This was my chance. I flapped my wings violently, ramming the cage door with all my strength. The door burst open. Without a moment of hesitation, I took a leap of faith, jumping from the speeding truck. Wind roared past my ears. I desperately flapped my wings to slow my fall, but I still slammed hard into the roadside guardrail. The impact made everything go black for a moment, and I tumbled down the steep slope right into a small river at the mountain. The icy water immediately swallowed me. A piercing pain shot through my left wing. It had to be broken. A deep gash had also been torn open on my leg, and my blood stained the water red. Host has sustained critical damage. The agility system's notification sounded. But I had no time to worry about that. The truck had already stopped up on the road. The driver and workers were getting out, shouting and cursing as they started searching down the slope. I couldn't waste a single second. I dragged my injured body, desperately swimming to the other side of the river, and scrambled and clawed my way into the forest ahead, diving headfirst into a dense bush, completely vanishing from their sight. Only when I could no longer hear their voices or footsteps did I collapse to the ground, gasping for breath. I had survived. I had escaped the farm's chopping block. But before I could even let out a sigh of relief, a strange-looking plant, large tree up ahead, instantly caught my eye. It was a mature Solomon seal with a thick, sturdy rhizome. Its leaves were a vibrant green, and it gave off a faint medicinal scent. The energy it contained was far more potent than the cultivated herbs I'd eaten back at the warehouse. Many times more potent, in fact. And since my wing and leg were both badly injured, I knew that if I ate this plant, my injuries would heal quickly. I dragged my broken body forward, carefully approaching the Solomon seal. But just as I opened my beak to devour it, the unexpected happened. A giant python as thick as a man's arm shot out from the grass and sank its fangs into my left wing. A thick, reeking stench washed over me. A pitch-black, 5-step snake with a triangular head shot out from behind a tree. It was nearly 2 meters long, and its thick body was wider than my own leg. Its tongue flickered. Its cold vertical pupils locked right on me, and poisonous fangs gleamed inside its mouth. This was a 5-step snake that had already started to mutate. Even a normal 5-step snake has enough venom in one bite to kill a full-grown water buffalo, let alone this mutated giant. If it managed to bite me, even with my physique far surpassing a normal person's, there's no way I could survive that. Every feather on my body instantly bristled. I pressed my injured wing tightly against myself, lowered my body, and stared the 5-step snake down, not daring to let my guard down for a second. The 5-step snake was the first to strike. Like a bolt of black lightning, it lunged straight for my neck. Its fangs aimed right for my vitals, but just as it reached me, I leaped to the side, dodging the fatal strike. Without a moment's hesitation, I gathered all my strength and slammed myself into the snake's body. My 21 jin weight combined with 57 points of strength unleashed a terrifying impact. I slammed the 5-step snake hard against a tree trunk, letting out a dull thud as its body coiled up instantly. I gave it no chance to retaliate. Leaping up, I pinned its head down with my 2 steel-like talons. Then, like a chisel, my sharp beak began to frantically peck at its weak spot. Once, twice, 3 times, I shattered its tough scales, leaving a mess of mangled flesh and blood. In just over 10 seconds, the ferocious mutated 5-step snake stopped moving completely. Its body went limp and collapsed to the ground. I panted, staring at the snake's corpse, feeling a little hesitant. This thing was incredibly venomous. If I ate it, would the venom kill me? But then again, this was a mutated beast. The energy it contained had to be more powerful than a 100-year-old ginseng. If I could just consume it, I would complete my evolution. I might even awaken a new skill. No risk, no reward. I opened my beak, and using a kind of suction, began to pull the entire 5-step snake down into my stomach. The moment the corpse was fully swallowed, the system's notification chimed in my mind like the voice of an angel ringing non-stop. First-time consumption of a mutated beast has triggered a special reward. Ding, mutated 5-step snake consumed. Weight plus 5 jin, constitution plus 50, strength plus 40, agility plus 35. Gained poison resistance plus 80%, ding active skill devouring suction awakened. allows the user to unleash a devouring force, sucking targets within range directly into their mouth, drastically increasing consumption efficiency. The maximum size of a target that can be consumed increases along with the host's strength. I was instantly ecstatic. This skill was practically made for me. I'll never have to struggle again. Chasing down prey, all I'll have to do is open my beak and suck them right to me. I quickly asked the system in my mind, "System, hey system, what else do I get when I evolve ding each time the host completes a species evolution? You can awaken a unique innate spell. Evolve a full 5 times to unlock your ultimate skill. 5 evolutions to unlock my ultimate skill." A fierce ambition ignited within me. Tigers and lions. So what hulking bears? Who cares? In this world, no one is born a king, so what if I was reborn as a farm chicken? I can still devour and devolve my way to the very top of the food chain, and become the strongest being on this continent. To test the effects of my devour ability, I immediately turned to a golden root nearby and opened my beak. An invisible devouring force erupted from my beak. Golden root buried deep in the soil was ripped right out of the ground and flew straight toward my beak. As it traveled, the devouring force compressed it, shrinking it down until it landed precisely in my mouth. Ding devoured 100-year-old wild golden root. Constitution plus 30. Self-healing ability significantly increased. Injuries are rapidly healing. A warm current instantly surged through my entire body. A tingling sensation spread through my previously fractured wing. The piercing pain faded away, the wound on my leg healed and scabbed over before my very eyes. I checked my stats panel again. My weight had already reached 26 pounds, my constitution shot past 140. Strength hit 137 and agility broke 100. Host has surpassed the species limit. Initiate first evolution. The system prompt sounded again, this time I hesitate for a second. Evolve now, first evolution initiated. Estimated time 10 minutes. Host, please find a secure location. To avoid any disturbances, a terrifying wave of heat erupted from my body. My bones began to crack and pop. All of my feathers started to molt. My body began to grow at a visible rate, growing frantically. The agonizing pain of metamorphosis consumed me, but my mind was clearer than ever. I knew. From this moment on, my destiny was being rewritten. 10 minutes later, evolution complete. I snapped my eyes open, letting out a clear, piercing cry that echoed through the forest, startling countless birds from the trees. I looked down at my new form. My original dull yellow feathers were gone, replaced by crimson plumes that looked like living flames. Each feather was as hard as steel, shimmering with a metallic sheen. My size had exploded. I was over 3 feet long with a span of nearly 7 feet. I weighed nearly 90 pounds. My legs were thick and powerful. My talons like blades forged of steel, their tips gleaming with a deadly light. My eyes were as sharp as a falcon's. First evolution complete. Species Spirit Mountain Chicken. Host Godan. Type Crimson Spirit Mountain Chicken. Weight 90 pounds. Constitution 300. Strength 280. Agility 350. Innate spell Blazing Flames. Ability Manipulate Fire. When flames are imbued into feathers and talons, they can incinerate anything. Immunity to normal fire damage and physical attacks. Skills Devour Poison Resistance. Second evolution threshold, 1,000 pounds, 1,000 pounds. I stared at the number. My pupils contracted, but then I smirked. 1,000 pounds. So what? This boundless primordial forest filled with countless exotic beasts and celestial treasures. As long as I keep devouring, forget 1,000 pounds, I'll eventually reach 10,000, even 100,000 pounds. This forest isn't my grave, it's my treasure trove. It's the starting point of my rise to power, but I also know this primeval forest is filled with countless dangers. Right now, I can handle small mutated beasts and regular animals with ease. If I ran into top predators like black bears, tigers, or alpha wild boars, or those terrifying, deeply mutated beasts, I'd be completely outmatched. Laying low and grinding is the way to go. I flapped my massive wings and shot into the air, flying low through the trees, searching for a safe place to hide. Thanks to my newly evolved and greatly enhanced senses, I quickly found a stone cave on a cliffside. The entrance was hidden and the inside was dry and spacious. Best of all, there was no scent of any predators nearby. It was the perfect hideout. I settled into the cave and began my journey of insane consumption and growth. Every day I'd fly out before dawn and use my devour ability to consume everything in the forest. Fish and shrimp from the river, wild rabbits in the woods, bamboo rat squirrels, entire bird nests, medicinal herbs, even mutated venomous snakes, poisonous hornets, and toxic spiders. As long as it could boost my stats, I devoured it all. Ding, devoured mutated crate. Constitution plus 15. Poison resistance plus 10%. Ding devoured 100-year-old Ganoderma. Spirit power plus 20. Constitution plus 25. Ding devoured mutated wild rabbit. Strength plus 10. Agility plus 15. Ding devoured mutated hornet swarm. Passive skill awakened venom sting. You can now concentrate toxins into your stinger and release a lethal dose with a single strike. The system notifications kept ringing non-stop in my head every single day. My body weight was also increasing at a visibly insane rate. I went from 80 pounds all the way to 150, then 200, then 300, and my stats skyrocketed along with it. My control over my magic grew more proficient as well. A single blast of fire from my mouth could instantly turn a tree as thick as a bowl into charcoal. During that time, I also found a backpack that must have belonged to some girl who fell off the cliff. Inside was a smartphone that still worked, a high-capacity power bank, and a hand-cranked generator. This was a godsend. I could finally get real-time information about the outside world. I turned on the phone and was hit with a flood of news. It was all about the aura reveal and news of mutated beasts. In just half a month, the world had completely changed. The unknown creatures under the Antarctic ice sheet were confirmed to be prehistoric aberrations from the deep sea. As the ice caps melted, countless of these deep-sea monsters poured into the world's oceans. Coastlines around the world were under constant attack by these beasts. Several warships had already been sunk, and back home in the country's major forests, there were constant reports of beast attacks on humans. The stray cats and dogs in the cities had begun to mutate on a massive scale, with some even attacking people in broad daylight. But the most shocking thing was an official announcement: the China Martial Arts Association had been formally established. They released the official cultivation system for martial artists. At the same time, Mount Wutai, Mount Longhu, Mount Juhua Wudong Mountain, and other major sects all had announcements of their own. They were recruiting disciples from all over the country. Applicants needed outstanding natural talent, with priority given to those possessing spiritual roots. However, the requirements could be relaxed for anyone with a bachelor's degree or higher. The era of cultivation for all had truly begun. I just stared at the phone screen. My heart wouldn't calm down. My earlier premonition had come true. This world, it's no longer a place where ordinary people can live in peace. Humanity has found a path of cultivation. But the beasts are also evolving like crazy. The future is only going to get more brutal. And I'm still a long way from the 1,000-pound threshold for my second evolution. I have to get faster, stronger. I put away my phone and took to the air, flying deeper into the primeval forest. The smaller beasts on the outskirts were giving me fewer and fewer attribute points. Only the more powerful beasts in the heart of the forest could help me break through quickly. But I hadn't flown far when a series of piercing howls echoed from the valley ahead, mixed with the furious roars of a black bear. My interest piqued. I concealed my aura, flapped my wings, and landed silently on a large tree at the edge of the valley to look down below. A brutal slaughter was unfolding in the valley. A dozen mutated gray wolves, each over 2 meters long, were viciously swarming a massive mother black bear. The mother bear was already covered in wounds, her black fur stained red with blood. But she still fiercely protected the 2 newborn cubs behind her, refusing to let the wolf pack get any closer. I recognized this mother bear. I'd seen her a few days ago while drinking from the river. She was fishing with her 2 cubs. She was docile and had never attacked me. Normally, a dozen gray wolves would never dare to provoke an adult black bear, but now the mother bear was being relentlessly attacked with 2 helpless cubs to protect. Her paws were tied and she couldn't go all out. She was being pushed to the brink. The pack's assault grew more and more frenzied. The alpha wolf saw its chance and sank its teeth into the mother bear's leg, viciously tearing away a chunk of flesh. The mother bear let out a pained roar and swatted the alpha away. But blood instantly started gushing from her leg, and she staggered, nearly collapsing. The 2 little cubs cowered behind their mother in fear, whimpering pitifully and clinging desperately to her leg. Watching this scene, my heart clenched. It reminded me of Camo. Back at the farm, he did the same thing, his tiny body shielding me, begging old Mai not to kill me. My original plan was to wait for them to weather out and then reap the rewards. But now, I've changed my mind. This damn wolf pack, they're all going to die today. Without a moment's hesitation, I let out a long cry and dove from the tree, like a bolt of red lightning, charging straight for the pack with my crimson flames blazing. The gray wolves swarming the mother bear had no time to react before I slammed my claw into the one in front. 280 points of strength plus the force of my dive, and the burn of my crimson flames. The wolf didn't even have time to scream before I crushed its skull. Its body was instantly incinerated into a charred husk. The moment I landed, I swept my wings out, my flaming feathers slashing violently against two of the gray wolves. I sent them flying, smashing them against the rocks until they shattered to pieces. In just one encounter, it was all over. 3 gray wolves dropped dead on the spot. The pack instantly fell into chaos, backing away and staring warily at my sudden appearance. The mother black bear was stunned too. Her eyes were filled with disbelief as she looked at me. The alpha wolf I had sent flying struggled back to its feet, staring at my massive body. It let out an enraged howl, calling the rest of the pack to turn and attack me first. But I wasn't about to give it the chance. Devouring suction. I opened my mouth and a terrifying devouring power erupted. The alpha wolf, just as it was about to charge, suddenly lost control of its body and flew towards me. It let out a terrified whine, struggling desperately. But it was no use. The moment it flew in front of me, my sharp horn shot out, piercing straight through its head, killing it instantly. Ding devoured 1 alpha wolf. Weight increased by 88 pounds. Constitution increased by 100. Strength by 120. Ability increased by 90. Unlocked passive skill, Bloodlust. While in combat, stats will continuously increase over time up to double the base value. With the alpha dead, the rest of the pack was completely routed. They let out mournful howls, turned and bolted into the woods, vanishing without a trace in the blink of an eye. The crisis was over. I turned around and looked at the mother bear. Dragging her injured body, she gave me a deep bow. She let out a low growl as if she were apologizing to me. The 2 little black cubs behind her timidly poked their heads out and waved their little paws at me. I nodded back at them. I looked down at the bodies of the gray wolves. Opening my mouth, I activated Devour. The wolf carcasses were instantly sucked into my mouth. Ding devoured gray wolf. Weight increased by 55 pounds. Constitution increased by 60. 50. After swallowing those wolves, my weight broke right past 550 pounds. I was already halfway to the 1,100 pounds needed for my second evolution. The mother bear looked at me, let out another low growl, and turned to walk deeper into the valley. After a few steps, she looked back at me, signaling for me to follow her. My interest piqued, I followed. The mother bear led me to the base of a cliff deep in the valley. There, a wild ginseng plant was growing as thick as a wash basin. Its roots hung down like a beard, emitting an incredibly dense aura of energy. 1,000-year-old wild ginseng. My eyes lit up instantly. The mother bear growled softly at me, indicating that the ginseng was a thank you gift. I didn't stand on ceremony. I opened my mouth and activated devouring suction. The entire 1,000-year-old wild ginseng roots and all was swallowed into my stomach. Instantly, a terrifying current like molten lava surged through my entire body. It felt like my meridians were about to burst from the energy. The system notification rang out. Ding devoured 1,000-year-old wild ginseng. Weight increased by 330 pounds. Constitution increased by 500. Strength increased by 480. Agility by 450. Spirit increased by 300 points. Unlocked talent flora affinity. Can sense all natural treasures as well as the auras of plants and animals within a 10-kilometer radius. My weight shot up to 800 pounds, putting me on the verge of my second evolution at 1,000 pounds. I was just a step away. My body had grown massively again. My body length reached 2 meters with a wingspan exceeding 4 meters. Standing there, I looked like a small kunpeng. My crimson scales and feathers gleamed with a terrifying metallic luster. My aura was horrifying. The mother black bear looked at me, her eyes filled with reverence. She and her 2 cubs bowed their heads to me once more. I nodded at her and let out a cry, signaling for her to take her cubs and leave this place as soon as possible. The wolf pack might come back. The mother bear understood my meaning and, leading her 2 cubs, turned and disappeared deep into the woods. I too spread my wings and took flight, continuing deeper into the forest. With just 200 more pounds, I could complete my second evolution. By then, there wouldn't be many things in this forest that could threaten me. But I hadn't flown far when my grass and wood affinity talent suddenly sent me a warning of danger. Not far ahead, there was the scent of humans, the smell of iron and a thick stench of blood, along with the roar of a Siberian tiger. It was a shrill, desperate cry. My heart skipped a beat. A Siberian tiger, the true jungle. Even before the mutation, it stood at the very top of the food chain. Now, after the spiritual energy revival, a mutated Siberian tiger's power would be even more terrifying. For it to let out such a desperate roar, there was only one possibility: poachers. And they were definitely not ordinary poachers. Regular poachers would stand no chance against a mutated Siberian tiger. I hesitated for a moment. I decided to go check it out. If the situation looked bad, I'd turn and leave immediately. But if I had the chance to devour a mutated Siberian tiger, I could definitely break through the 1,000-pound barrier and complete my second evolution. I suppressed my aura completely and beating my wings, I hugged the treetops, flying silently toward the source of the sound. My massive 800-pound body didn't make a single sound. After flying over a dense patch of forest, a clearing appeared ahead. A bonfire in the clearing, 5 men in camouflage were sitting around it drinking and speaking fluent Japanese. A Japanese poaching ring. My gaze instantly turned to ice. Beside the bonfire were 3 large black bags. From the opening of one, a yellow and black striped tiger's tail was sticking out. A large patch of coagulated blood stained the ground. They had already killed the Siberian tiger. My 5 senses had been enhanced hundreds of times. I could hear their conversation crystal clear. Our luck is pretty good this time. Not only did we catch 2 tiger cubs, but we also killed a mutated mother tiger. This mother tiger's essence blood will definitely sell for a fortune back home. And that brown bear was a good catch too. We've more than completed our mission this time. Tomorrow, let's make the trip to the village down the mountain. I heard that farm there has a lot of poultry that have started to mutate. If we capture all of them, price the higher-ups are offering is even more than for mutated beasts. A farm down the mountain. My heart seized and my eyes instantly burned red. They were talking about Mikai's family farm. These bastards didn't just kill protected animals. They were actually planning to go after Mikai's family, to hurt Mikai. I stared daggers at the 5 men in the camp. Every scale and feather on my body bristled with fury. Crimson flames began to smolder on my scales, my killing intent so thick it was almost tangible. Not a single one of these animals would leave here alive today. But I didn't rush in. Instead, I lurked in the woods waiting until the dead of night. The campfire slowly died down. One of the 5 men was left on watch, while the other 4 crawled into their tents to sleep. This was my chance. I beat my wings gliding silently out of the forest, closing in on the camp like a phantom. 100 meters, 50 meters, 20 meters, 10. The man on watch had just raised his rifle. When he looked up and saw me, a mountain of a creature looming over him, his eyes filled with pure terror. He tried to pull the trigger, but it was too late. I blurred forward, appearing in front of him in an instant and smashed a claw right into his chest. With a sickening crack, his sternum caved in. His body flew like a kite with its string cut soaring dozens of meters. Before slamming into a tree and dying on impact, he never even got a scream out. The men in the tents heard the noise and came stumbling out cursing under their breath. I gave them no chance to react. I swept my wings sideways, wreathed in roaring crimson flames, sending all 4 men flying. They hit the ground hard, spitting up blood, unable to even get back on their feet. I walked toward them one step at a time. A few strikes from my giant claws and they were over. The whole thing took less than a minute. 5 fully armed poachers from the island nation, all of them eliminated. Only after taking care of everyone did I turn my attention elsewhere. I walked towards the 3 large black bags. I tore the first one open with my claws. Inside was a color-changing brown bear over 3 meters long. It was already lifeless, its body stiff with rigor mortis. I ripped open the second bag. It was the mother Siberian tiger they had hunted. Her body was riddled with bullet holes, her eyes wide open, unwilling to rest in peace. But the moment I tore open the third bag, my heart clenched. It wasn't a corpse. It was 2 newborn white tiger cubs. Their fur was pure white with black stripes. Their eyes weren't even open yet. They were huddled together, shivering uncontrollably, letting out faint whimpers. They were still alive. Looking at these 2 cubs, I thought of Mikai. I remembered the mother bear in the valley, the one who fought to the death to protect her young, and now this tigress, who died with her eyes still open. In the end, I couldn't bring myself to harm the 2 small cubs. I turned my attention to the corpse of the color-changing brown bear and opened my mouth, activating my Devour ability. The massive bear was instantly sucked into my mouth. Ding, you have devoured a color-changing brown bear king. Weight increased by 180 pounds, constitution increased by 400, strength increased by 450, agility increased by 200. My weight instantly shot past 1,000 pounds, leaving me just 20 pounds shy of my second evolution. My gaze slowly shifted to the body of the mother Siberian tiger. If I devoured her, I could complete my second evolution right now, but just as I was about to activate Devour, the 2 little white tiger cubs actually managed to stagger to their feet and stumbled over to their mother's body, their tiny forms sprawling over her. It stood protectively in front of the mother tiger's body, letting out a kittenish low growl at me. Its whole body was trembling, but it didn't back down an inch. I froze instantly, looking at these 2 little white tigers who were clearly scared to death, but were still desperately protecting their mother's body. My heart Felt like it had been hit by something. In the end, I just couldn't bring myself to eat them. Just then, one of the white tiger cubs suddenly turned around and stumbled over to the poacher's backpack. It grabbed a bulging sack with its mouth and dragged it with all its might in front of me. Then it tossed the sack before me and ran back to its mother's side. The sack burst open and its contents scattered all over the ground. It was full of medicinal herbs. 1,000-year-old Lingji mushroom, 100-year-old wild ginseng. Hishowu gastrodiet, all of them were top-tier herbs that these poachers had plundered from the forest. They contained an incredibly dense energy. They wanted to trade these herbs for their mother's body. My nose suddenly started to sting. Reborn into my second life. I had seen countless deceptions and betrayals, countless people who would do anything for profit. But now these two white tiger cubs who had just been born had taught me a lesson. I opened my mouth and activated my devour ability. All the herbs on the ground were swallowed into my stomach in one go. Devoured 1,000-year-old Lingzi mushroom. Weight increased by 15 pounds. Constitution increased by 80. Strength increased by 70. Devoured 100-year-old wild ginseng. Weight increased by 10 pounds. Constitution increased by 50. Strength increased by 40. After a series of notifications, my weight steadily broke through 1,000 pounds. Ding host's weight has reached 1,000 pounds. Conditions for the second purification have been met. Initiate second purification immediately. Initiate. I roared in my mind. Ding second purification beginning. Estimated time 30 minutes. Please ensure the surrounding environment is safe. A terrifying storm of energy instantly erupted inside my body. My body began to transform at a rate visible to the naked eye. My crimson scale feathers began to fall off, replaced by new ones of black and gold. They were covered in mysterious lightning patterns. My bones grew wildly, and my body size exploded. 30 minutes later, the purification was complete. I snapped my eyes open, and a golden bolt of lightning shot out from them, striking a boulder nearby. The boulder was instantly blasted to smithereens. I spread my wings. They had a wingspan of a full 26 feet. My body reached 16 feet long, and my weight skyrocketed to 2,000 pounds. My entire body was covered in black and gold lightning-patterned scale feathers like the hardest armor. Golden lightning crackled around my talons and beak. My aura was terrifying to the extreme. Ding second purification complete. Species updated Thunder Rock Rock. Host Guden. Species Thunder Rock Rock. Bloodline Ancient Variant Beast. Weight 2,000 pounds. Constitution 1,500. Strength 1,800. Agility 2,000. Innate ability Rushing Thunder. Can control the divine thunder of the 9 heavens. Thunder and fire dual attribute fusion. Doubles power. Immune to and fire damage. Immune to 90% of physical damage. Ultimate ability Light Splitting Dash. When used, speed exceeds Mach 3. Can tear space for short distance teleportation. Skills devour poison resistance. Poison Sting, Bloodlust, and Nature Affinity. The third purification threshold, 20,000 pounds, 20,000. Looking at that number, I just gave a slight smile. 20,000 pounds. So what? As long as I put my mind to it, I'll reach it sooner or later. I retracted the thunder and flames from my body and turned to look at the two tiger cubs. They looked at me, the fear in their eyes gone, replaced by a mix of awe and curiosity. I didn't touch their mother's body. Instead, I used my claws to dig a deep pit in the earth. I carefully placed the mother tiger's body into the pit, covered it with soil, and built a small burial mound. The two cubs stared stunned for a long time before walking to the mound and whimpering mournfully. They nuzzled the dirt with their little heads, tears streaming down their faces. After I was done, I turned my attention to the poachers' camp. In one of their backpacks, I found a thick notebook. It detailed this group's poaching exploits over more than a decade in primeval forests all across the country. Besides that, I also found a satellite phone, several high-capacity power banks, a ton of ammunition and explosives, and plenty of compressed biscuits and drinking water. But my most surprising find was a map of the region marked with the locations of various sect gates and the coordinates for the first coastal defense line. I took all of these items and packed them into the poacher's bag. Once I finished gathering everything, I turned to leave, but the two little white tiger cubs were watching me. They actually started stumbling along right behind me, tilting their little heads up at me and letting out little mews. I stopped in my tracks and looked at them. They stopped too, looking at me timidly, but they didn't back away. I gave them a low growl, warning them to leave, that it was dangerous here. But it was as if they understood. Instead of leaving, they ran a couple steps forward and nuzzled my claws with their tiny heads. Their eyes were full of dependence. Their mother was gone. In this treacherous primeval forest, they wouldn't survive on their own. I sighed. In the end, I couldn't help but feel for them. I gave them names. The bigger one I called Dahu. The smaller one Erhu. From that day on, they were my crew. I picked up a backpack with my mouth, tossed it to them, and gave a low call, signaling that they should take turns carrying it and follow me. The two little ones seemed to get it. They scrambled over each other to grab the bag, their tiny bodies sticking close behind me. I took them with me, spread my wings, and flew deeper in primeval forest. According to the coordinates in the notebook, in the deepest part of the Dailing primeval forest dwelled countless powerful spirit beasts and even a sacred black fox. There were also priceless natural treasures. My goal is to devour everything, to grow stronger and stronger until I stand at the very pinnacle of this world. More importantly, I have to become strong enough to protect the ones I care about in this chaotic world. My Kai, wait for me. I will come back for you. For the next several days, I took Dahu and Erhu deep into the primeval forest. And so began our path of endless devouring. Following the coordinates in the notebook, we journeyed onward, encountering countless powerful mutant beasts. We came across an orangutan king over 3 meters long and as fast as lightning. He was extremely cunning and almost made off with Dahu and Erhu. But I caught up to him with wind thunder wings and crushed his skull with a single swipe of my claw. After devouring it, my agility skyrocketed once more. We encountered a brown bear king over 7 meters long and weighing more than 5,000 pounds. He was the long-reigning king of this forest, with a thick hide and flesh. His strength was immense. We fought for 300 rounds. In the end, I used my dual attribute tail fire to slowly wear him down and kill him. After devouring him, my constitution and strength literally doubled. We faced an anaconda king that was over 20 meters long. It was hiding underwater and almost dragged Dahu and Erhu under. In a blind rage, I unleashed a blast of rushing thunder, blasting the entire pond apart. The force ripped the anaconda king right out of the water, and I tore it to shreds. After devouring the pieces, the range of my devour skill expanded once again. We faced a 10-meter-long white wolf king leading a pack of over 100 mutant gray wolves. They had us completely surrounded, so I activated my bloodthirst skill, Thunder Fire 7 Strikes, and cut my way through them again and again, slaughtering the entire pack down to the last wolf. After that, by feeding on the remains I provided, Dahu and Erhu grew rapidly. They went from 2 palm-sized cubs to massive white tigers over 2 meters long. Their power grew by leaps and bounds, to the point where they could take on a mutant brown bear by themselves. On top of that, I sent messages to Mikai every day using the satellite phone, and I found out Mikai really had been scouted by the people from Dragon Tiger Mountain. It's because he was born with a supreme grade wood spirit root. The Grand Master of Dragon Tiger Mountain took him in as his personal disciple. He was brought to Dragon Tiger Mountain to begin his training. He sent me messages saying he really missed me, and that he missed his mom and dad. He said the training there was tough, but he wasn't afraid. He said he needed to get stronger fast, so he could come back to me sooner. He told me the village at the base of the mountain had been attacked by mutant beasts several times. Old me and the other villagers were relying on the village walls to defend themselves. They were barely holding on, but things were getting worse. He said the coastal defenses were on the verge of collapse. Countless deep-sea beasts were frantically storming the shoreline. Many cities had already fallen to the beasts, leaving countless people homeless. He told me that many of the senior disciples from Dragon Tiger Mountain had gone to the front lines to help. He wanted to go too, but his master said his cultivation level wasn't high enough yet, and wouldn't let him. Reading each and every message from Mikai, my heart ached. I knew I couldn't just hide out in these mountains anymore. I had to go back. I had to protect the ones I care about. So one day, I took Dahu and Erhu and slayed a golden eagle king that had made its nest on the highest peak. After devouring it, my weight finally broke 20,000 jin. Ding. Host has reached a weight of 20,000 jin. Conditions for the third purification have been met. Initiate third purification. Evolve. Now. Third purification beginning. Estimated time 1 hour. Awakening the ancient Kunpeng bloodline. This evolution was far more intense than the last two. My body was being wildly transformed amidst endless thunder and fire. My length shot up to 15 meters and my wingspan reached a terrifying 30 meters. My weight shot straight up to 50,000 jin. My scales and feathers turned to dark metallic golds, like a flowing river of stars. A single flap of my could summon wind and thunder, and a single cry could shatter the sky. The third purification was complete. Species updated 9 Heavens Kunpeng Chicken. Host Gauden. Species 9 Heavens Kunpeng Chicken. Bloodline of an ancient divine beast. Weight 50,000 jin. Constitution 8,000. Strength 10,000. Agility 12,000. Innate spell space lockdown. Can lock down space within a 100-meter radius, rendering any target immobile. My innate divine ability. Phoenix Wing Charge has evolved. My speed now breaks 10 times the sound barrier, and I can perform long-distance spatial jumps. The devouring art has evolved, and my poison resistance is perfected. Poison Needle has evolved. Bloodlust is perfected. Nature Affinity is perfected. The requirement for the 4th purification is 500,000 Jin. The moment my purification was complete, I spread my wings and soared into the heavens, 10,000 meters up in the sky. I let out a cry that shook the world. Every single mutated beast in the entire Daling primeval forest, upon hearing this cry, began to tremble uncontrollably, prostrating themselves on the ground, not daring to make a single move. The myriad beasts had submitted. From this day forward, I, Gauden, am the one true king of the Daling mountain range. I descended back onto the mountain peak, looking down at Big Tiger and Second Tiger groveling at my feet, along with the Black Bear King I had subdued on my way here, the Anaconda King, the Golden Eagle King, and countless other mutated beasts. I let out another cry. Target the village at the foot of the mountain, move out. The great horde of beasts stampeded following me, charging in a mighty torrent towards the village down below. I'm going back to protect my village, to protect Makai's home. But just as we were about to emerge from the forest, the satellite phone suddenly rang. It was Makai. I hurriedly answered it, but what came through the receiver was Makai's voice choked with tears. Broken and intermittent, in the background were deafening explosions, the roars of mutated beasts and the horrific screams of people. Gauden saved me the city's defense line. It's been broken. There are so many beasts. My senior brothers and sisters, they're all dead. I'm surrounded. I miss you so much, Gauden. I'm sorry. I don't think I can make it back. The line suddenly went dead. I stood there frozen, holding the satellite phone. Every drop of blood in my body rushed to my head. Makai. My eyes instantly turned blood red. A cataclysmic world-destroying killing intent erupted from me. The very air around me froze solid. Hucheng, I snapped my head up, staring towards the east. Thunder wind wings. I instantly unfurled my wings, unleashing 10 times the speed of sound. My entire being transformed into a golden streak of light, rocketing straight into the clouds, flying frantically toward Hucheng. Behind me, Big Tiger and Second Tiger led the great beast army, also charging madly towards the east. Makai, just hang on. You absolutely cannot die. Even if I have to shatter the heavens and the earth, even if I have to burn these mountains and rivers to ash, I swear I will come and save you. 3 hours later, Hucheng, once the prosperous magic capital, had now been transformed into a living hell on earth. Countless deep-sea mutated beasts had surged out of the Huangpu River. Ruins and rubble were everywhere. Fire and blood were everywhere. The screams of humans, the roars, gunfire, and explosions all wove together into a symphony of destruction. The defense line had been utterly annihilated. Countless beasts were rampaging through the city, slaughtering the surviving humans, the disciples of Longhu Mountain, and the defensive line formed by the warriors from the Great Sex had already been shattered and thrown into chaos. Countless warriors trying to cover the retreat of civilians died under the sharp claws of the beasts. Meanwhile, by the banks of the Huangpu River inside an abandoned dock, Makai was leading a dozen injured warriors surrounded by over 100 tentacle lizards, each more than 5 meters long. They were completely surrounded. Makai's body was already covered in wounds, his white Taoist robe stained red with blood. Even the peachwood sword in his hand was cracked. The dozen or so warriors beside him were all injured, barely able to stand, pushed to the brink of despair. A dozen tentacle lizards shrieked as they lunged toward them. Makai closed his eyes. A tear rolled down his cheek. Gauden, I'm sorry, I can't come back to see you. But just then, a cry that shook the heavens and the earth suddenly echoed from the sky. This cry carried an endless fury and a world-shattering power that made the waters of the entire Huangpu River surge into monstrous waves. Everyone, including the beasts, subconsciously looked up at the sky. They saw a streak of golden light speeding in from the horizon, appearing above the dock in an instant. It was a giant bird the size of a small mountain with a wingspan that blotted out the sun. Its body was covered in dark golden scale-like feathers. With a flap of its wings, wind and thunder roared. Golden lightning and crimson flames burned wildly around its body, like a god descending upon the world. It's me, Gauden, is here. Seeing Makai below surrounded and covered in wounds, my heart ached as if it were being torn apart. I let out a furious cry and my colossal body flashed, appearing instantly above those tentacle lizards. Rushing thunder, tenfold flames. Countless bolts of golden lightning as thick as barrels rained down from the sky. Like a sea of thunder, they crashed down brutally upon the tentacle lizards. Raging flames instantly swept across the entire dock, engulfing all the beasts in a sea of fire. Their screams rose and fell. Those tentacle lizards, so ferocious just moments before, were instantly burned to cinders under the scorching thunder flame, unable to even let out a final scream. I dove down swiping with one claw. A dozen tentacle lizards were instantly smashed to smithereens. I swept my wings, sending dozens of winged beasts flying. They crashed the wall and were splattered into paste. In just over 10 seconds, the 100 or so tentacle lizards surrounding the dock were all slaughtered by me. The entire dock fell silent in an instant. Mikai and the other surviving warriors all stared dumbfounded at this behemoth before them. Their eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. I slowly landed on the ground, retracting the thunder and fire around me. My enormous body moved carefully towards Mikai, afraid of scaring him. I lowered my head, using my head to gently nuzzle Mikai's blood-stained cheek, letting out a low, soft whimper. Mikai froze. He looked at me, at the tiny little scar on my foot, from where I'd been scraped by a chicken coop when I was small. Tears instantly burst from his eyes. Trembling, he reached out his hand and touched my scales. My voice choked, trembling in disbelief. "Gauden! Is that you?" I nuzzled his hand and let out a soft whimper. "It's me. Nietzsche, I'm here to save you. I'm back." Nietzsche couldn't hold back any longer and threw himself into my arms, clinging to my neck and sobbing his heart out. All the pain, fear, and despair came pouring out. "Guden, I knew you'd come. I just knew it." I gently wrapped my wings around him, protecting him just like he used to protect me when we were kids. "Don't be afraid. I'm here now. No one is going to hurt you." Just then, the waters of the Huangpu River suddenly swelled into a massive wave hundreds of meters high. An absolutely terrifying presence erupted from the river's depths. The entire surface instantly turned pitch black, and a thick fog rolled in. Countless deep-sea monsters crawled out from the water, prostrating themselves and trembling in fear, as if welcoming their sovereign. A gigantic, head covered in holes, slowly rose from the water. Its body was larger than a skyscraper dozens of stories tall. Its two eyes, like a pair of blood-red moons, stared me down, letting out a deafening roar. It was a projection of the Abyssal Sea Emperor, the most terrifying being from beneath the Antarctic ice. He was the one who led countless deep-sea monsters to breach the world's coastlines and slaughter innumerable humans. It stared at me, letting out a low growl as if to warn me to stay out of it. But it didn't know the one thing it should never have done was to hurt the one person I'm sworn to protect. I gently placed Nietzsche behind me, letting the surviving martial artists guard him. Then I slowly lifted my head and spread my sky-blotting wings, facing the projection of the Abyssal Sea Emperor. I let out a battle cry that shook the heavens. "Today, either you die, or I do it!" The Emperor's projection was utterly enraged. Countless tentacles, each hundreds of meters long, shot out like steel whips, lashing toward me with cataclysmic force. The very air cracked in their wake, but I felt not a shred of fear. Wind thunder flash, I burst forward at 10 times the speed of sound, instantly dodging the tentacles. At the same time, I activated spatial lock. The space in a 100-meter radius instantly solidified. The Emperor's projection froze mid-motion, trapped in place. Now's my chance, rushing thunder-slaying flame. My lightning and fire attributes fused in an instant, forming a devastating tornado of thunder and flame that slammed directly into the Emperor's head. With a deafening boom, a massive explosion erupted, and the Abyssal Sea Emperor's projection let out a tortured roar. A massive gash was blasted into its head, and black blood poured down like a waterfall. Regenerative abilities were horrifying. The gaping wound began to heal at a visible rate. It went completely berserk. Its innumerable tentacles thrashed at me wildly. I couldn't dodge in time, and several of them slammed hard into my body. The immense force sent me flying, smashing violently into a nearby skyscraper. The entire building instantly collapsed. Host has sustained critical damage. Constitution plus 1,000. Agonizing pain shot through my entire body. My dark gold scale feathers littered the ground, and golden blood trickled from the corner of my mouth. Nietzsche let out a heart-wrenching scream and tried to rush to my side. "Stay back!" I roared at him telepathically. I slowly rose from the rubble, staring at the crazed avatar of the Abyssal Sea Emperor before me. The killing intent in my eyes intensified. My bloodlust skill activated. My stats instantly, and I charged forward once more, clashing with the Abyssal Sea Emperor's avatar, Thunderfire. The power of space, I unleashed every single technique I had. Above all of Shanghai, the sky roared with thunder and wind lit by soaring flames, and the sound of explosions was endless. More and more wounds appeared on my body, and my energy was fading fast. But I looked at the soldiers in camouflage behind me, at the surviving humans. I knew I couldn't retreat. If I did, they would all be doomed. It was at that moment as the Abyssal Sea Emperor's avatar pierced my wing with a tentacle and pinned me to a wall, that an earth-shattering roar echoed from the distance. It was Dahu and Erhu. They were leading the Black Bear King, the Forest King, and the Eagle King, along with a vast army of 10,000 beasts. They had finally arrived. The countless beasts surged forward like a tidal wave, crashing into the deep-sea monsters in the Huangpu River. The two sides clashed instantly. Dahu and Erhu, along with the Black Bear King, furiously pounced on the Abyssal Sea Emperor's avatar. Although their attacks on the Abyssal Sea Emperor's avatar didn't cause much damage, they succeeded in drawing its attention. You seek death, the Abyssal Sea Emperor's avatar let out a furious roar. Its tentacles swept out, instantly sending Dahu and Erhu flying. They crashed to the ground, spitting up blood, but still struggled back to their feet, letting out furious warning roars. The strongest creatures on land were never tigers or lions. Host's guardian star awakened, activating innate divine ability, Myriad Transformation Devour. Host's current weight has surpassed 60,000 pounds. Conditions for the fourth purification have been met. Initiate purification immediately. The system's prompt exploded in my mind like thunder. The fourth evolution. I looked at the furiously roaring avatar, and then at the tear-streaked soldiers behind me. I saw Dahu and Erhu heavily injured but refusing to retreat. I saw those warriors and soldiers, weapons in hand, covered in wounds, yet still forming a line to protect the civilians. There was zero hesitation in my heart. Evolve now. The fourth evolution began, estimated to take 1 minute. Kunpeng and Phoenix bloodlines are merging, unlocking ancient divine avian source. It was only a minute, but it felt like millennia had passed. Endless chaos flames and the thunder of the 9 heavens furiously intertwined and fused within my body. My form began to expand at an explosive visible rate. My original 50-foot-long body instantly stretched to over 160 feet. Wingspan reached a terrifying 300 feet. The dark golden scaled feathers on my body transformed into an iridescent chaotic hue, and on every single feather, ancient runes were now engraved. With a gentle flap of my wings, I could summon wind and thunder powerful enough to rip space itself apart. Deep within me, a power capable of burning the heavens and boiling the seas was surging wildly. Fourth purification complete. Species updated to Blazing Phoenix Chicken. Host Gauden. Species Blazing Phoenix Chicken. Bloodline of an ancient divine bird. Weight 300,000 pounds. Constitution 50,000. Strength 60,000. Agility 80,000. Innate ability Nirvana Flame. It can incinerate all things, and it can heal all things. As long as my divine soul is not extinguished, I can be reborn from the ashes. Innate divine ability. Myriad Transformation. Devour Advanced. Can devour all things tangible and intangible, converting them into my own primal energy with no upper limit. Skill Absorption Technique Max Level. Poison Resistance God Tier. Poison Array God Tier. Bloodlust Max Level. Wood and Water Purification Max Level. Spatial Lock Max Level. Wind and Thunder Wings Max Level. Fifth Purification Threshold 1 million pounds. The moment the purification was complete, I snapped my eyes open. 2 beams of light wreathed in Nirvana Flame and the divine lightning of the 9 heavens shot out from my eyes, slamming viciously into the Abyssal Sea Emperor's avatar. With a deafening boom, the Abyssal Sea Emperor's avatar's supposedly indestructible tentacle was instantly blown to smithereens by the beams of light. Black blood rained down like a torrential storm, splashing into the Huangpu River only to be instantly incinerated by the Nirvana Flame. It let out a blood-curdling shriek, staring at me in utter disbelief. It couldn't possibly understand how I, who had been completely suppressed by it just a second ago, could suddenly erupt with such terrifying power. What? What in the world is this thing? Its psychic energy, laced with endless terror, slammed into my mind. I let out a cry that shook the heavens and the earth, piercing through the entire city's defenses through the thick layers of clouds, and echoed across the entire East China Sea. What am I? I am Gauden, a farm chicken who escaped from a butcher's block. I am the guardian of this land, and I'm the kind of being that a monster like you who dares to defile my home and harm the ones I care for can never ever afford to provoke. Spatial lock. Instantly, the space within a 1,000-meter radius was frozen solid. The Abyssal Sea Emperor's avatar's enormous body, along with all of its tentacles, were locked firmly in place, unable to move an inch. The terror in its eyes instantly magnified to its absolute limit. It wanted to struggle. It wanted to self-destruct. It wanted to flee back to the deep sea, but it was too late. Myriad transformation devour, I opened my massive maw. A terrifying suction force powerful enough to swallow the sky and the earth erupted in an instant. The heavens and the earth changed color. The wind swirled in reverse. The water of the Huangpu River was instantly sucked upward, flowing against its own current. The surrounding ruins, rubble, and dust were all swept up into this devouring force, instantly pulverized into nothing. And the Abyssal Sea Emperor's avatar, locked firmly in place, bore the full brunt of it. It let out a roar of absolute despair, desperately fighting against the devouring power. But its resistance was laughably pathetic in the face of absolute power. Its body, as massive as a skyscraper, was compressed bit by bit under the devouring force, crushed and refined until finally I swallowed it whole in a single gulp. Ding, you have devoured the Abyssal Sea Emperor's avatar, acquired source of the endless deep sea. Weight increased by 200,000 pounds. Constitution increased by 30,000. Strength increased by 35,000. Agility increased by 25,000. Ding acquired abyssal resistance, immune to abyssal corruption and psychic erosion. Ding unlocked deep sea vision. Can perceive the aura of all deep sea creatures within a 10,000-mile radius. The moment I swallowed the Abyssal Sea Emperor's avatar, I could clearly feel it. An incomparably vast energy was surging wildly within my body. My weight shot past 500,000 jin, halfway to the 1 million needed for the 5th purification. I was already halfway there. In an instant, the entire Huangpu River fell silent. All those deep-sea monsters that had been rampaging and roaring wildly felt the world-ending aura pouring off of me and began to tremble in absolute terror. They turned, trying to dive back into the river, trying to run too late. With a single flap of my wings, countless streams of nirvana fire rained down from the sky. When the fiery rain hit the river, it didn't extinguish. Instead, it burned even hotter. The entire Huangpu River instantly became a sea of flames. All the deep-sea monsters that tried to escape were scorched by the nirvana fire. They let out blood-curdling screams as they were instantly burned to a crisp, leaving not even a speck of ash. In just a few short minutes, I had slaughtered every last deep-sea monster around the city's defensive docks. The crisis was averted. I slowly drew back my aura, my body rapidly shrinking until I was back to my normal 2-meter-long size, landing right in front of Mikai. Mikai looked at me, tears still streaming down her face, but she smiled as she ran toward me. She threw her arms around my neck, burying her face in my feathers, her whole body trembling as she cried, "Guden, you're okay! Thank goodness you're really okay." I gently nuzzled her hair with my head, letting out a soft, reassuring chirp. "Relax, I told you I'd come for you. I was never going to let anything happen to you." The surviving warriors and soldiers stared at the scene, stunned for a long moment, before erupting into a deafening cheer. One by one, they knelt before me on one knee, their eyes filled with awe and gratitude. "Thank you, Divine Lord, for saving us." "Thank you, Divine Lord!" Their shouts echoed one after another, but I paid them no mind. All my attention was on Mikai. Her body was covered in wounds. Her once fair face was now caked in dirt and blood. Her lips were deathly pale. It was clear she was at death's door. I quickly channeled the nirvana fire within me, transforming it into a gentle, warm current, and slowly poured it into her body. The nirvana fire can incinerate all things, but it can also heal all things. The warm current flowed through every inch of Mikai's body. The wounds covering her began to heal at a speed visible to the naked eye. Color slowly returned to her pale face. Her depleted spiritual energy began to churn, then surge. Host is using nirvana fire to heal Mikai's injuries. Mikai's supreme spiritual root fully awakened. Cultivation has broken through to the Grandmaster realm. The system's notification chimed. Mikai's eyes shot open. Feeling the power exploding within her, her eyes widened in shock. She looked up at me, the smile in her eyes shining brighter than all the stars in the sky. "Guden, you're incredible!" I lifted my head proudly and gently nudged her cheek with my beak. "Well, of course. I mean, have you forgotten who I am? I'm the one who's going to become the undisputed #1 chicken on the entire continent." Just then, an earth-shaking roar echoed from the distance. It was Big Tiger and Second Tiger, and they were bringing the Black Bear King. King Senrin, King Golden Condor, and the massive army of beasts charged over. When they saw I was unharmed, they instantly erupted with excitement. Big Tiger and Second Tiger bounded up to me, rubbing their huge heads hard against my body, letting out low whines. It was as if they were being affectionate, and also checking to see if I was hurt. The Black Bear King and Golden Condor King also led a group of altered beasts, bowing their heads to me with respectful growls. Looking at them, a warm feeling spread through my chest. These guys, even knowing they were outmatched, they still charged in without a second thought. Ready to fight and die by my side. That kind of loyalty, Guden will remember it for the rest of my life. But before I could even say a few words to them, the sound of urgent footsteps echoed from the distance. A group of soldiers in military uniforms, along with several elders in Taoist robes, quickly approached. The elder in the lead had white hair but a youthful face, and his aura was immeasurably deep. He was clearly a powerhouse at the Grandmaster level. He walked right up to me and gave me a respectful bow. "Sect leader Qingshu of Drager Mountain," he announced. "Greetings, Lord Divine Sovereign." Behind him, the other disciples from Dragon Tiger Mountain quickly bowed as well, their eyes filled with awe as they looked at me. And when Sect leader Qingshu saw Makai standing beside me, a relieved smile spread across his face. Little K to have such a fortunate encounter, to be protected by the Lord Divine Sovereign. It is a blessing for you, and a blessing for our Dragon Tiger Mountain. Makai stuck her tongue out playfully, hugged my neck, and smiled at the sect leader. Master Guden is my best friend, not some fortunate encounter. I gave sect leader Qingshu a slight nod as a greeting. After all, he was Makai's master and had taken good care of her. I had to give him that much respect. Seeing this, sect leader Qingshu's smile grew even wider. He quickly said to me, "Lord Divine Sovereign, this time the city's defense line was breached. And it was all thanks to you turned slaying the Sea Emperor's clone and saving the entire city's population. However, the situation is still grim." My heart skipped a beat. Of course there was a twist. Sect leader Qingshu's expression immediately turned solemn. "We just received news from the front lines. This Sea Emperor's clone was merely a decoy, the main body of the Abyssal Sea Emperor, and has already broken free from beneath the Antarctic ice sheet. Right now it's leading an army of 1,000,000 deep-sea altered beasts and is heading for the East Sea, and that's not all. At the mouth of the Yangtze River, over 10 million deep-sea altered beasts have already gathered, and they're pushing inland. In less than 3 hours, they will reach this city again. Of our 18 defensive lines along the coast, 17 have already been breached. The disciples from all the great mountain sects and the military soldiers have suffered over 50% casualties. They're about to collapse." The moment he said that, everyone's face turned deathly pale. The atmosphere, which had just begun to relax, instantly dropped back to a freezing point. 10 million deep-sea altered beasts, and the Abyssal Sea Emperor's main body. The one I just devoured was only a clone, and it was already that terrifying. How strong must his real body be? Makai, hugging my neck, tightened her little hands instantly, her eyes filled with worry. But I felt no fear at all. The moment Gudon escaped from the butcher's block, I forgot the meaning of fear. If he wants to come, then let him. This is my home. The place I'm sworn to protect. If he dares take one step inside, I'll rip his head off and swallow it whole. I raised my head and let out a clear, piercing cry that echoed throughout the entire city. Big Tiger and Second Tiger instantly snapped to attention, roaring at the sky with deafening bellows. Their eyes gleamed with savagery. The Black Bear King pounded his chest fiercely, letting out an enraged roar. The Forest Boa King flicked its tongue, its cold, slitted pupils filled with killing intent. The Golden Eagle King spread its wings and let out a sharp screech to the heavens. Behind me, my army of 10,000 beasts roared as one, their battle cry shaking the earth and piercing the clouds. 10 million aberrations, the Sea Emperor himself. So what? I'll devour as many as they send. The Qingshu sect leader watched this scene, his blood boiling with excitement, and gave me a deep bow. "Your righteousness is inspiring, Great One. On behalf of all the martial artists of China, this old Taoist thanks you." I flapped away him, sending a thought directly into his mind. "Cut the formalities, get your people moving now. Evacuate the civilians from the fortress city, gather all the warriors who can fight, and hold the outer defense line. My army of 10,000 beasts will fight alongside you. And one more thing, bring me every piece of intel you have on the Abyssal Sea Emperor and his deep-sea aberrations. Know your enemy and know yourself, and you will never be defeated." Hearing this, the Qingshu sect leader was overjoyed. He nodded eagerly. "Yes, this old Taoist will see to it at once." With that, he turned and left with the disciples of Dragon Tiger Mountain, along with military personnel to quickly make the arrangements. Makai looked up at me, his eyes filled with determination. "Guden, I'm with you. I've already reached the Grandmaster realm. I can help you. You've always been the one protecting me. This time, let me stand with you and protect our home." I saw the resolve in his eyes, and my heart softened. I gently rubbed my head against his forehead and let out a low murmur. "All right, then we fight together side by side. Over the next 2 hours, the entire city of Hucheng mobilized. Civilians were evacuated in an orderly fashion to safe zones inland. Military soldiers constructed lines of defense around Hucheng's perimeter. Tanks, cannons, and missile launchers were all set up. Their barrels were all aimed toward the mouth of the Yangtze River. Martial artists from all the great sects also assembled. There were at least 10,000 of them standing at the very front of the defense line, weapons in hand. Every face was grim, but not a single person backed down. And I, with my army of 10,000 beasts, was stationed at the absolute forefront. Big Tiger and Second Tiger stood to my left, and right the Black Bear King, Forest Boa King, and the Golden Eagle King led their respective aberration clans on either flank. We formed an iron wall standing firm before the city of Hucheng. Makai stood on my back, a peachwood sword in his hand, his white Taoist robes fluttering in the wind. He fully unleashed his supreme wood spirit root, and for 10 miles in every direction the plants grew wildly under his control, forming one indestructible wooden wall after another in front of our defensive line. Everyone was waiting for the great battle that would decide their fate. Finally, on the distant horizon, a roar that shook the heavens and the earth echoed out. A black tide surged in from the mouth of the Yangtze River. It wasn't sea waters, it was a countless swarm of abyssal beasts, a dense, endless swarm like a plague of locusts blotting out the horizon. The ground cracked beneath their weight, and the river water was stained black. Tens of millions of abyssal beasts had arrived. Leading them were over a dozen deep-sea leviathans, each more than 100 meters long, their auras terrifyingly powerful. Every single one of them was nearly as strong as the Sea Emperor's clone from before. They spotted the defensive line ahead and let out crazed, furious roars. Their speed increased, and with a single command, fire. Countless artillery shells and missiles rained down from the defense line, slamming into the tide of beasts. Explosions erupted one after another. The beasts at the very front were instantly blown to smithereens, but there were just too many of them. As soon as the front line fell, the ones behind trampled over their comrades' bodies and continued their charge. In just a few short minutes, the beast tide had reached the defensive line. The new district's commander roared, leading 10,000 warriors in the first charge, clashing head-on beasts. Swords flashed and spiritual energy erupted. Countless beasts were slaughtered, but countless warriors also fell beneath the monster's sharp claws. In an instant, blood stained the earth red. "Charge!" I let out a furious roar. With a flap of my wings, I was the first to charge out. All-consuming maw. I opened my giant mouth, unleashing a terrifying, devouring power. Hundreds of beasts at the front of the horde were instantly sucked into my mouth. Unable to even scream, the system notifications beeped endlessly in my mind. My body weight was increasing at a terrifying visible rate. Big Tiger and Second Tiger also led their pack into the beast horde. The two massive white tigers were like streaks of white lightning, and wherever they passed, beasts' heads flew. The Black Bear King was even more ferocious. One swipe of his paw could crush several beasts at once. He was a black tank rampaging through the horde. The Serpent King's enormous body coiled tightly around a 100-meter-long leviathan, and with a vicious squeeze it instantly crushed the monster's bones to powder. The Golden Eagle King led countless flying beasts in a dive from the sky, their talons striking at the beast's eyes with precise, deadly accuracy. My legion of beasts slammed into the abyssal horde. The battle was so fierce it plunged the world into darkness. But the number of beasts was simply too great. We'd kill one wave and another would take its place, as if they were infinite. Gradually, we started to lose ground. Warriors fell one by one and my legion of beasts began to suffer casualties. Wounds started to appear on my own body. Although the flames of Nirvana healed them quickly, my internal energy was also being rapidly consumed. Just then, a deafening roar echoed from the river distance. A terrifyingly powerful aura like a storm cloud covering the sky descended upon the entire world. Everyone, including me, felt their face pale in an instant. The true form of the Abyssal Sea Emperor had arrived. On the distant river surface, a colossal wave 1,000 meters high began to rise, revealing an impossibly massive body. It slowly rose from the river water. Its body was over 1,000 meters long. Countless tentacles, each hundreds of meters in length, writhed in the sky. Every single tentacle was covered with innumerable eyes, all glowing with a blood-red light. The mere aura it gave off was enough to make the earth begin to tremble, and make space itself begin to warp. Everyone on the front line was crushed by this aura, struggling to even breathe. The warriors with lower power levels even began to cough up blood, collapsing to their knees. Its gaze locked onto me, filled with an endless, cold-killing intent. "So you're the one who killed my clone." Its voice, as if from the 9th level of hell, echoed directly in everyone's mind, carrying with it an endless psychic corruption. Those with weaker cultivation instantly started bleeding from all 7 orifices from the shock of its voice. I stood in front of everyone, spread my wings, and stared it down, letting out a cry that showed no weakness. That's right, I killed it. If you know what's good for you, you'll take your people and crawl back to your deep sea. Otherwise, what happened to your clone will happen to you. Ha 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 ha. Pathetic! The Abyssal Sea Emperor let out a wild, insane laugh filled with contempt and cruelty. A tiny little farm chicken, just because you've awakened a sliver of divine bloodline, you dare speak so arrogantly before this sovereign today, I will flatten this continent and turn all of humanity into my food. As for you, I will tear you to shreds, refine your bloodline, and ensure you never find peace even in death. Before its voice had even faded, its countless tentacles like steel whips flew towards me with world-destroying power. Everywhere they passed, space itself shattered layer by layer by wind, thunder, repulsion. I instantly became a streak of light, dodging the tentacle's attack. At the same time, I activated spatial lock, trying to immobilize its body, but its power was just too immense. My spatial lock only made it pause for a fraction of a second, before it broke free instantly. Is that all you've got? The Abyssal Sea Emperor let out a mocking laugh. Countless tentacles closed in on me from all directions, instantly wrapping me up completely. Guden Mitsai let out a heart-wrenching, desperate scream. With a wave of his peach wood sword, countless wooden spikes like a torrential downpour stabbing towards the Abyssal Sea Emperor's tentacles, trying to free me, but his attacks landing on the Emperor's tentacles didn't even leave a single scratch. An insignificant speck dares to shine. The Abyssal Sea Emperor snorted coldly, casually swatting a tentacle towards Mikai. If that tentacle landed, Mikai would be pulverized in an instant. You dare touch him? My eyes instantly blazed with fury. The flames of Nirvana inside me began to burn wildly. With the bloodthirsty flames of Nirvana fully activated, my stats instantly doubled. The tentacles wrapped around me were instantly burned to ash by the Nirvana flames. I transformed into a streak of light, appearing in front of Mikai in an instant using my own body to block that incoming tentacle. With a deafening boom, I was sent flying by the massive blow, crashing violently into the ground, creating a gigantic crater. Ding the host has suffered a fatal blow. A searing pain ripped through my entire body. Golden blood poured from the corner of my mouth. My scales scattered all over the ground. Several of my bones were completely shattered. Camo ran towards me, frantically, tears streaming down his face like pearls from a broken string. Big Tiger and Second Tiger instantly charged forward, blocking the front of the pit. They faced the Abyssal Sea Emperor and let out furious roars. Even though the Abyssal Sea Emperor's aura made them tremble uncontrollably, they refused to back down even a single step. The Black Bear King, the Forest King, and the Golden Eagle King all charged forward as well. They formed a circle, desperately protecting me. A pack of ignorant beasts! The Abyssal Sea Emperor scoffed. Countless more tentacles whipped viciously towards them. No! Camo cried out, spreading his arms to them. Just as the tentacles were about to strike Camo, a deafening bear's roar suddenly echoed. The Black Bear King lunged forward, using his massive body to shield Camo. The countless tentacles slammed brutally against the Black Bear King. Crack! The sound of breaking bones was horrifyingly clear. The Black Bear King let out a roar of agony, spewing mouthfuls of blood, but he still stood his ground, refusing to retreat even an inch. With his own body, he protected Camo, Big Tiger, and Second Tiger behind him. He turned his head to look at me in the pit, his eyes filled with reverence and a sad farewell as he let out a low whimper. I remembered that look. Back in the valley, when I saved him and his cub, he had bowed his head to me in the very same way. He was repaying my kindness with his life. No Black Bear King. My eyes instantly turned bloodshot. An unprecedented wave of fury and helplessness washed over my entire body. I struggled trying to get up, but with every bone in my body shattered, I couldn't move at all. Watching this, the Abyssal Sea Emperor let out a cruel laugh. How touching. But today, all of you are coming to the grave with me. His tentacles rose once more, preparing to deliver the final blow to the Black Bear King. But just then, something unexpected happened. Countless blades of spirit energy shot from the horizon, slashing fiercely at the Abyssal Sea Emperor's tentacles, instantly severing several of them. Immediately after, countless figures flew in from the horizon. Leading them were several elders with unfathomably powerful auras. Each one was at the peak of the Grandmaster realm, and 2 had even stepped into the King realm. It was Wudang Mountain, Wutai Mountain, Juhua Mountain. The warriors from all of China's mountain sects had arrived, and that wasn't all. The countless fighter jets filled the sky. Squadrons of jets formed up, launching a barrage of missiles at the Abyssal Sea Emperor. On the ground, endless military reinforcements were also arriving. A steel tide of tanks and armored vehicles launched a countercharge against the horde of beasts. "How dare you fiends run rampant on the soil of China?" the leader of the Wudang sect bellowed, swinging his longsword. A 1,000-meter-long blade of energy slashed viciously towards the Abyssal Sea Emperor. All the warriors charged forward, launching a frenzied assault. Caught off guard by the sudden attack, the Abyssal Sea Emperor let out a furious roar. "A swarm of ants dares to stand in my way." He thrashed his tentacles wildly, clashing with the warriors from the great mountain sects. Seizing the opportunity, Camo quickly ran to my side and began forming hand seals model. My supreme wood sprute erupted at full power. Countless streams of life force surged wildly into my body. "Gauden, hang in there! You have to hang in there!" His tears fell onto my body drop by drop, his voice choked with sobs. His whole body was trembling. Big Tiger and Second Tiger also ran to my side, gently licking my wounds and letting out mournful whines. I looked at the Black Bear King, covered in wounds but still standing his ground. I looked at Camo, his face streaming with tears, and at the warriors and soldiers who fought one after another, sacrificing themselves to protect this land. In my heart, a power unlike any I'd ever known exploded forth once more. I could not lose. I absolutely could not lose if I lost. Every single one of them would die. Ding Host's Heart of Protection has reached completion. Activating Nirvana Rebirth. Ding, all of the host's injuries have been instantly healed. All stats have been doubled. The host's current weight has surpassed 1 million Jin, meeting the conditions for the 5th purification. Initiate final purification now. The final purification is here. Purify now. I let out a hysterical roar in my mind. The final evolution begins. Unlocking the origin of chaos. The Kunping and Phoenix bloodlines have completely merged, creating the Chaos Divine Sovereign. This evolution had no earth-shattering signs. There was only an endless chaotic power flowing slowly through my body. My body was slowly reshaped by the chaotic power. My shattered bones were instantly reborn, now even more indestructible. My completely depleted power was restored in an instant, and it had grown countless times stronger. My body didn't get any bigger. Instead, it slowly shrank. Until I was just a palm-sized little chick, I was covered in chaos-colored fuzz, looking completely unremarkable. But I alone knew that within my body I now held a power great enough to destroy the heavens and the earth. A single word could shake mountains and rivers. A single cry could startle the sun and moon. Final purification complete. Species updated. Chaos Devouring Divine Sovereign. Host Gudon. Species Chaos Devouring Divine Sovereign, a Chaos God Beast. Weight 1 million Jin. Can freely scale physique, strength, and agility. Innate Divine Ability. Myriad Transformation. Heaven Devourer. Can devour all things in heaven and earth. Can devour laws, space-time, and chaos itself, converting them for its own use. Innate spell Undying Nirvana. As long as the divine soul remains, it will never perish and can undergo infinite nirvana rebirths. All skills have been upgraded to God tier. The moment the evolution finished, I flapped my wings and flew out of the deep crater. Everyone noticed me. Camo stared at me, his eyes filled with shock and disbelief. Big Tiger and Second Tiger also stared blankly at me, tilting their heads. They clearly didn't recognize that this little chick was their boss. The Abyssal Sea Emperor, who was in a fierce battle with the warriors from the Great Sects, noticed me as well. He let out a scornful laugh. "What's this? Did I knock you back to your original form? You dare challenge me with this pathetic level of power?" I ignored his taunts, simply raising my head slowly. And looking at his massive body, I flapped my tiny wings once. The next second, I instantly appeared right in front of him. He didn't even see me move. I lifted my tiny claw and gave his head a little tap. It looked like a gentle pat, but it held a power capable of shattering the heavens and the earth with a deafening, thunderous boom. Abyssal Sea Emperor's massive 1,000-meter-long body was instantly slammed onto the river's surface by my attack, carving out a gigantic crater. The force of the blow pushed all the river water to the sides, exposing the dry riverbed. It let out a horrifying, piercing shriek, its eyes filled with terrified disbelief. "No, impossible! This is absolutely impossible! How could you possess such immense power?" I slowly landed upon its head. My tiny claws pressed down on its skull as I let out a clear, cold cry. "Nothing is impossible. You will never understand just how strong the power of protection truly is. All you know is how to devour. All you know is destruction. You will never get it. In order to protect the ones I care for, even a simple farm chicken can evolve into a divine chaos beast and crush a so-called sea emperor beneath its feet." I opened my mouth. All-devouring celestial. A suction force powerful enough to swallow the entire world erupted in an instant. This time it wasn't just the Abyssal Sea Emperor's body, but everything within the entire Yangtze River. All the tens of millions of deep-sea beasts still on their rampage were pulled into the air by this force. Surging frantically towards my mouth, the Abyssal Sea Emperor let out a roar of absolute despair, trying desperately to resist. But in the face of my all-devouring celestial maw, its struggle was as pathetic as a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Its colossal body was pulled into my mouth bit by bit until it was completely devoured. Ding devoured the main body of the Abyssal Sea Emperor. Acquired the Abyssal Origin. All attributes have been greatly enhanced. Ding devoured tens of millions of deep-sea beasts, weight increased by 5 million pounds. Chaos Domain unlocked. The moment all the beasts were devoured, the entire world fell silent. Sunlight pierced through the thick dark clouds and scattered across the land. Everyone stared blankly up at the sky, at that palm-sized, chaos-colored little creature, unable to process what they had just witnessed. The next second, a deafening cheer echoed across the entire world. We won, all hail our divine savior, we defended the city. We saved our nation, countless soldiers. And countless warriors cheered wildly, embracing each other and weeping. Makai ran towards me, holding out his hand, and I landed gently in his palm. I nuzzled his fingers with my little head. He looked at me, and tears began to fall from his eyes again. But this time, they were tears of joy. Guden, you did it! You really did it! I let out a soft chirp. Yes, I did. I protected the people I wanted to protect. I defended this land. In the days that followed, the entire nation did in celebration. The story of how I slayed the Abyssal Sea Emperor and defended the coastline spread far and wide. Everyone began calling me the Divine Emperor Protector of the nation. The leaders of the major sects jointly petitioned to have temples built in my honor to receive the worship of the people. The military even awarded me its highest medal of honor, officially naming me the guardian deity of the nation. But I wasn't interested in any of that. First, I took Makai with me, and we returned to that familiar little mountain village. The place was a complete wreck. The remnants of that poaching group from the island nation had returned with a horde of beasts and laid siege to the village. Old Mai had led the villagers, and using the village walls as defense, they held out for 3 days and 3 nights, barely managing to survive. And Old Mai himself, in order to protect the villagers, grievously wounded by a mutant beast, he was lying on his bed on the brink of death. When he saw me and Mikai return, Lao Mi looked at me from his bed. His eyes filled with guilt and gratitude. He struggled trying to sit up. He started apologizing to me. Guden, no divine lord, I was wrong before. I shouldn't have always been thinking about killing you for money. Thank you. Thank you for saving our village. I landed on the edge of his bed and channeled the flames of rebirth into his body. His severe injuries healed in an instant, feeling his body fully restored. Lao Mi was so moved he burst into tears, thanking me over and over. I gave him a slight nod. Let the past be the past. After all, he was Mikai's father, the man who gave me my first life. Even though his original plan was to fatten me up and sell me, I wouldn't exist without him. After settling things in the village, I took Big Tiger, Second Tiger, and the Black Bear King back to the Great Ridge Primeval Forest. Black Bear King had been seriously injured before and almost didn't make it. It was my own lifeblood essence that pulled him back from the brink of death. After recovering during this time, he was not only fully healed, but his bloodline had awakened as a blessing in disguise, causing his power to skyrocket several times over. Big Tiger and Second Tiger had also grown into White Tiger Kings over 5 meters long, becoming the true second in commands of the Great Ridge Mountains. I declared the Great Ridge Mountains and all the surrounding forests a protected sanctuary for mutant beasts. Here, mutant beasts and humans would coexist peacefully, neither encroaching on the other. Humans would no longer enter the mountains to poach, and the beasts would not leave the mountains to harm people. I even reached an agreement with the government. My beast army would stand guard on China's coastline alongside the military and warriors from the Great Martial Arts to protect the peace of this land. In return, the government would protect all the mutant beasts in the forests, giving them a safe and stable home. Everything was heading in the best possible direction. In this era of spiritual energies reawakening, it wasn't just about slaughter and destruction anymore. Humans and mutant beasts could live together in peace, protecting this shared homeland together. But the peaceful days didn't last long. A heaven-shattering twist once again shattered the tranquility. While cleaning up the camp of the previous poaching group from the island nation, I found an encrypted hard drive. On it, I discovered a secret that made my blood boil. The poachers from before were not just some scattered illegal hunters. They belonged to an overseas superhuman organization called the Black Crows, and this organization had long been in league with the Abyssal Sea Emperor. The city's defensive line being breached was no accident. It was a mole from the Black Crows organization, who leaked the defense schematics and opened a gap in the perimeter, allowing the deep-sea beast to charge right in. What enraged me even more was that this mole was right there on Dragon Tiger Mountain, right by Mikai's side. It was the personal disciple of the Qingcheng sect leader and also Mikai's senior brother Xuan Chen. He'd been bought by the Black Crows organization long ago, all for the sake of so-called immortality. He sold out his own country and the entire world of cultivators. Even worse, he was planning to set up a spatial teleportation array at the Dragon Vein on Dragon Tiger Mountain to transport the remnants of the Abyssal Sea Emperor's forces directly into the heartland of China. By the time I discovered this secret, Xuanchen had already snuck into the back mountains of Longhu Mountain with his men. The teleportation portal was nearly complete. Once it was activated, countless abyssal monsters would appear deep inside of China. The consequences would be catastrophic. I was instantly filled with rage. These backstabbing bastards were asking for a death wish. Without a moment's hesitation, I unleashed my full power, moving at 10 times the speed of sound. I shot towards Longhu Mountain. When Nietzsche heard the news, he was trembling from head to toe, his eyes filled with utter disbelief and disappointment. He could never have imagined that his senior brother, who had always been so kind and caring, so gentle and refined, would turn out to be a traitor working for the enemy. "Gauden, I'm going with you!" Nietzsche gripped his peachwood sword tightly, his eyes burning with a cold, murderous fury. This time he showed no hesitation at all. Betraying his sect, selling out his country, and slaughtering his own people. A man like that to be eliminated. We raced to the back of Longhu Mountain as fast as we could. Sure enough, inside the Forbidden Grounds, Xuanchen was leading over a dozen psychics from the Black Crow organization, frantically pouring their spiritual energy into the teleportation array. The portal was already glowing with a blood-red light, and space itself had begun to warp. We could just faintly hear the roars of monsters from the other side. "Xuanchen, what are you doing?" Nietzsche screamed, pointing his peachwood sword directly at him. Xuanchen turned to face us, a hideous, twisted grin spreading across his face. Well, my dear junior brother, what brings you here?" "Oh, I forgot. This divine chicken you keep around is surprisingly capable. But since you're here, why don't you join us and welcome the dawn of a new era?" A new era. Nietzsche was shaking with fury. "You betrayed our country, sold out ourselves, the deaths of so many of our brothers, sisters, and innocent people, and you still have the audacity to talk about a new era. Brothers and sisters." Xuanchen laughed like a maniac, his eyes blazing with madness. "They were nothing but a bunch of ants. As long as I can gain eternal life and achieve even greater power, what does sacrificing them even matter? When the great Sea Emperor arrives with his army, I will be one of his founding fathers. This whole world will be mine. You wish." I let out a low cold cry and made my move. Space lock. Instantly, the space within a 100-meter radius was frozen solid. Shinchen and the other psychics were paralyzed, the smiles stiffening on their faces, their eyes wide with terror. "No, this is impossible. How could you be this powerful?" I landed beside the portal and tapped it gently with my little claw. The portal that Xuanchen had poured his being into, the one he claimed was indestructible, was suddenly covered in cracks, and then it shattered. Staring at the broken portal, Xuanchen let out a roar of pure despair. "No, my life's work, my immortality." He began to struggle madly, trying to break free from the spatial lock, wanting to lunge straight for me, but I just gave him a cold look. All-consuming devour, a powerful suction force erupted from me. Shinchen and all the psychics from the Black Crow organization were instantly pulled into my mouth, before they could even let out a scream. After eliminating Xuanchen and the remnants of his organization, the crisis at Longhu Mountain was finally over. When the new sect master learned the truth, he was trembling with rage, apologizing to me over and over, blaming himself for raising such a disgrace. I just flapped my wings at him. I signaled for them to let it go. After all, Xuanchen was the one at fault. Dragon Tiger Mountain, after everything that happened, Camo had truly grown up. She was no longer that little girl who would just hide behind me and cry. She started following the Qingcheng sect master, handling the affairs of Dragon Tiger Mountain and leading disciples across the land to provide aid, slaying spirit beasts and saving the common people. And with every new trial, her power grew at an astonishing rate. She soon broke through to the Grandmaster realm, becoming the youngest Grandmaster in the cultivation world. And I was right there with her. Wherever she went, I went. When she went to the front lines to stand guard, I stood with her at the very edge of the defensive line. When she returned to her village to see her parents, I followed her back to that familiar old chicken coop. Watching the flock of chirping little chicks, I was reminded of when I was first reborn. Sometimes I'd fly with Camo back to the Great Ridge Mountains, and we'd hunt forests with Big Tiger and Second Tiger drinking from the river and watching the sunrise and sunset. Life went on peaceful and steady. A year later, the last remnants of the Abyss Sea Emperor's forces were completely wiped out by us. The global spiritual energy resurgence began to stabilize. Humans and spirit beasts found a way to coexist peacefully. The great sects opened their doors, recruiting disciples, and the era of cultivation for all had officially arrived. And during that year, I traveled across all the famous mountains and great rivers of the land, devouring countless heavenly treasures. My chaos bloodline was finally perfected, and I finally understood that being the strongest on land was never about building power through devouring and killing. True strength is having a heart full of reverence. It's understanding how to protect others, and knowing where your power should be used. In the end, Camo became the youngest sect leader in the history of Dragon Tiger Mountain, and the leader of our nation's entire cultivation world. She led the warriors of the great sects and the military, and together with my army of 10,000 beasts, they established a brand new line of defense. Protecting every inch of our land, Big Tiger and Second Tiger became the guardians of the Great Ridge Mountains. They led the spirit beasts of the forest to live in peace with humans, becoming known far and wide as the Twin White Tiger Kings, Black Bear King Forest King, and Golden Eagle King. Each watched over their own part of the forest, becoming beast kings who protected the peace of their domains. As for me, I didn't stay in the bustling cities, nor did I remain in the cold, deep mountains. I turned back into an ordinary little yellow chicken perching on Camo's shoulder every day. We'd rise with the sun and rest when it set. Many people ask me what is the strongest being on land. Is it a tiger, a lion, a bear, or the sea? Emperor from the abyss. It's none of them. The strongest on land was never some naturally born king. It's not about how much power you have or how terrifying your bloodline is. It's about whether or not you have something you're willing to protect with everything you have. When your heart is bound to something, you become invincible. Even a common farm chicken that escaped from the chopping block. As long as it has something to protect, it can stand at the very peak of this world and become the most powerful being in existence, and I will forever protect what I hold dear. I will protect Camo, protect this land, and protect everything I care about for all the years to come. We will never be a